I'm Tom Prince with Western New York Athletics, and you are at our next edition of the Western New York Athletics Coaches Corner. Softball edition is exactly what we got right now. And you know the three names that are right here, some of the biggest coaches here in Western New York, and very recognizable. So let's introduce them. We have Chris Durr right now with Will East, Michelle Switzer with Will North, and Kevin Hufford with St. Mary's. So again, everyone knows these names when it comes to Western New York softball. But my first question I have for each one of you is, how are you personally doing through all this? Chris, how about yourself?
Well, I'm a little bored. I don't think I will ever complain about ever being busy ever again. Really miss the kids in the school. Really miss going to work every day. And really miss, coaching and being with our athletes after school. Those 12 and 13-hour days sometimes get long, but we're kind of hoping for them to get back at it here soon, maybe.
Yeah, let's fingers crossed. And I know we've had, little things that have been coming out, but we're not canceling anything yet. So let's keep our fingers crossed that that's happened. Michelle, how about yourself?
I'm doing okay. In the beginning, it was really kind of tough, kind of threw us for a loop, trying to navigate how to communicate with people. I'm a teacher, so trying to figure out what we should do for our students, what we should do for our athletes. I think one of the difficult things is also seeing the weather this spring and how awesome the weather has been, and knowing this has been like the best spring in the 10 years that I've coached, and we can't be outside playing softball, but we're trying to make the most of what we can and control the things that we can control. And I mean, that's all we can do. We hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and that sort of thing. So as good as I can be, but of course I much would rather be with my students and with my athletes.
Absolutely. Kevin, how about yourself?
I'm just trying to stay busy doing all the things that I should have done months and months ago at my house. I've had a little extra time to clean up Softball Central a little better. And, when your livelihood and your leisure are both the same thing and it's gone, it's like an empty feeling. I'm supposed to be watching my daughter's junior season, and I'm supposed to be getting a group of 8 seniors and support cast ready to roll for what we thought was going to be a great season.
Yeah, well, like I said, let's fingers crossed that something comes out, even if it's conference play, something to get these girls out on the field and be able to show exactly what they're capable of. So let's get right now into the questions. So let's start off. Just give me a pulse of the tone of your players. What are they saying? I mean, obviously, there's no doubt that you're communicating with them, if not on a daily basis, very close to it. And I'm sure some of them you're hearing more than once a day from. But what are the tone? What are they saying? What are they communicating to you as far as what's going on, as far as their feelings concerned? Let's start with yourself.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of them are bored. Here they had the busiest time of their lives for a lot of them. I have a team that's heavily juniors, and they have all these things they were looking forward to, people they like to see. And, unfortunately, their whole world has been rocked, everything they knew. So a lot of them are bored. They're having a tough time kind of navigating how to manage their schoolwork without people telling them exactly what they should be doing at this time and this time and this time. So they have a lot of responsibility on themselves. And, they're questioning what's happening, what's going on. There's rumors that, this is happening, that's happening. And unfortunately, we wish we had the answers for them, but unfortunately we don't. And so, we're just trying to keep a focus on, again, hoping that we can just prepare and do little things in order to help make us ready should the time come that we have the season.
Yeah. Kevin, how about yourself? What are your players saying?
At first, they all seemed a little nervous, but I got to tell you, yesterday in our group message, I found this what if post about what if these kids are now more resilient, or what if these kids are now, just kinder human beings. So I asked them to kind of build on that. And I got to tell you that this group of kids, and I think this generation of kids, they're going to be really special for having to go through this time. I think they're going to come out of it stronger for what they do lose. Hopefully they don't lose too much, but when they come out the other end, I think they're going to be stronger for it.
Wow. And then Chris, how about yourself?
Well, I think we talk all the time about teachable moments, and this is definitely a teachable moment. My focus with them has just been stay safe, social distance. They all want to get together. They all want to be with their friends. They're a tight-knit group. But my focus has been, you got to do what people are telling you to do and make this a teachable moment. And as Kevin said, hopefully everybody's dealing with it as best they can. And they will come out of this, no matter what happens, better students, better student athletes, better human beings, as Kevin said.
Yeah, and that could be our only hope. And we're hearing such great stories, and you absolutely are seeing it come to fruition. So my next question is, what are you doing to keep your teams prepared if they say we're able to start? So what are you doing right now to make sure all these girls are staying crisp, staying clean, trying to do something to make sure softball is still there if they turn that switch on? Kevin, let's start with yourself.
Well, I'm just trying to keep them all communicating with each other and let them know that we're here for them if need be. We have Coach Rappel and my wife who help me out quite a bit, and we're all going back and forth with all these kids on a regular basis. I'd like to be able to put them on a Zoom meeting like this and kind of talk about mechanic stuff, but Monsignor Martin says that we are not allowed to have any kind of athletic type contact with them. So it's all, I hope you guys are doing the work. Like, they can't even send me a video of them doing the work.
Okay. Wow, I didn't realize. So it's make sure that we're just focusing, like you said, on what's the mental health then of your players.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep them focused on the fact that if we do get to play together again, it's going to be a blessing. And I think it'll make them hungrier if we do get to play together again. Some of these kids have been together their whole high school life, and like 5 of them on my team have played travel ball with each other since they were like 12 years old. Wow. So, I mean, this is their senior season. And, they're the lion's share of my starters. So hopefully they stay good leaders and they're getting their bodies ready. I know most of them are doing some tee work. I know most of them are playing catch with mom or dad. But yeah, I just need them mentally engaged and still a family, still part of the Lancer family.
Sure. Chris, how about yourself? How are you keeping your players all set, ready to go?
Well, I think the toughest thing is we talk all the time about teamwork and building a team and being together as a team, and that can't happen. We're all going through this as coaches and as players for the first time ever. And so everything we do as a team to make ourselves better, we can't do right now as a team. So I know the girls have been throwing, and some of them have, cages, and some of them are still doing virtual lessons and various different things individually. But that's the toughest part, is not allowing them to get together and do anything together. Because I think as adults, we have to make sure that they kind of feel invincible. And I know the first couple of weeks that this happened, there were a lot of teams getting together on their own and doing captains practices. And we really had to kind of get on them and say, listen, this is not what we should be doing. Our turf fields just closed the other day. The district just closed them officially. I think on Wednesday or yesterday or Tuesday, because there was just a lot of kids on those fields every day. And I know the same was going on at North and South every day. So just got to try and keep them mentally ready, mentally there, have them communicate with each other. But hopefully, as I said before, social distance, and keep our fingers crossed that we do get back to school, get back to some sort of normalcy, whatever that is.
Michelle, how about yourself? How are you keeping your team all set?
So my situation is a little bit different than Chris and Kevin's, because I actually have 9 new players on my team this year. So we're kind of starting a lot new and everything. So when we left, it was kind of just like, all right, we saw you for 5 days, see ya. And we kind of like took a little while to figure out what we should do. And so then I decided that, well, why don't we make like a Google Classroom, an online classroom for the girls? And I post a video in it every day talking about goal setting and like different things that we do from a mentality standpoint normally during the year that we can't do, because I figure if we end up being able to have our season, these might not be things we have time to focus on because it'll be like so condensed. So we're focusing on those in our little Google Classroom, and the girls can comment and post things on there as well. And then we just started doing our Zoom chats. So we do meet on Zoom and we talk about our book that we read. Every year we read a different book. This year we're reading The Energy Bus by John Gordon. So it's actually perfect for the whole thing that we're going through. It's all about positivity and how you can contribute and how your positivity influences others and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy how applicable it is for this year and for this time. And then to kind of get us going with like the competitive side of things, what I like to do every year is these inter squad teams where I split my team up into 3 different teams or 4 different teams. And then all throughout the year, we have different competitions among those three teams. And then at the end of the year, they can like get a prize at the banquet, right? The winning team. So I was thinking like, well, how could we incorporate that during this time of year to like keep us on track, keep us accountable, because it can be so boring just to be like, did you do your workout today? Did you do this today? You know, are you practicing? So instead, what I had them do is if they're ever doing something in regards to softball, send me a video. Make sure that you have the time and the date on there and some electronic device. So I don't think that you're cheating. And then, you know, you can get points for your team and it can all go to the prize at the end of the year. So that kind of helps to keep them accountable a little bit, put some, you know, team bonding and camaraderie. You know, we got to get a little creative. Like none of us have done this before. So we're just trying to make things up as we go and hope that it works.
That is phenomenal. Wow, that's great. I love that information right there. Give me one of the competitions. What are one of the competitions you've done between the squads?
Like inner practices?
Well, you said you break them up into 3s there, right? Or
yeah.
4s. So what do they compete? You said we got to do some fun things that compete. Give me something that they compete against.
I mean, anything and everything. If we're like in a practice, it could be like a diving competition. It could be like whoever, you know, can get like, we'll play knockout where like you have to field the ball between 2 cones or whatever. And then we'll make it into even fundraising competitions, whatever group can fundraise the most money for our team. And so it kind of goes into any facet. Like we'll bring it into games and say, however many, you know, if you get the bunt down in this game, you get 100 points for your team. So we incorporate it into everything we do, really. So keep it fun.
Great. That's fantastic. Great answer right there. So my next question is, well, let's say hypothetically right now, you're going to get cleared to play. You're going to get 6 practices to go before game 1. What will be the toughest thing to prepare your team for to play in that first game? Chris, start with yourself.
Oh, that's going to be tough, Tom. You know, usually we have 15, 18, sometimes longer number of practices to get teams ready. So six is going to be tough. I know when we jam games together, we're always hoping that we get a practice because you don't get to work on a lot of the things that you really want to work on once you start. But I think one of the most difficult things is situations, defensive and offensive situations, bunting, advancing runners, those types of things are going to be a huge focus. And then, they haven't seen live pitching since we made our teams. Had this happened a couple weeks later, maybe they would have seen a lot more live pitching and maybe we would have had a scrimmage under our belt, but we basically got our teams cut and then we started. So we missed out on a lot of that preparation for situations and types of things. And also, what positions are kids playing? We didn't even get a chance to try kids out, in a different position because someone else, plays their position. So those are going to be the tough spots. Is coming up with a lineup, I think, is going to be tough too.
Michelle, how about yourself?
Well, again, I'm in a crazy situation because not only do I have 9 girls that are new, but then also I'm coaching this year with Coach Rick Bubar. He used to be a varsity coach of the North program for quite a number of years. And actually at the end of this year, he's retiring. And so, with me and certain health issues that I'm going through, we brought him up to coach with me this year. And we also have Corinne Genovese, which is a, all-star player of Western New York, went to Missouri and played softball, and she's working with us too. So hopefully we'd be able to divide and kind of conquer, work on situations, work on signs, work on trying to find positions, I'm kind of like at a blank slate here. So I'm sure it will take some games to be able to really solidify it, but we would probably have to find like a clear, okay, this is what we're doing. This is going to be our plan of attack. And here we go, Yeah,
I had a little birdie ask about that new assistant coach that was coming into play. So.
Yep. Pretty cool.
Kevin, how about yourself?
Well, now that I hear these guys, I feel like I'm kind of spoiled because we're so old this year. I only have 2 new kids on the team this year. It's the first year that I haven't had at least one freshman since I took the job. The 8 seniors kind of makes me feel spoiled, and they all know what I do. They all know the calls. They all know the situational stuff. So I think the hardest thing for us to do is just to make sure that their bodies are totally ready to play games, because no matter how much they're working on their own, I don't think that their whole body is ready to play softball.
Fair enough. Well, listen, now comes the fun part, okay? Now we're going to discuss the makeup of these teams. Let's recognize these girls for how great they've been, how great they're going to be, and hopefully that they get a chance to take the field and see the field and do some fabulous things. So, Kevin, let's start with yourself. You are a perennial powerhouse in the Monsignor Martin division. You will compete for a Monsignor Martin title. There's no doubt about it. You've said it along multiple times here. You've got a very, very veteran team, senior makeup team. You've got a chance to do some damage. Let's talk about the makeup of that team.
I think with this group, it starts in the circle this year for sure. Tori Jenkins is lights out. Like she's been doing so well, and she's been improving so much. Just to put it into perspective, we put everybody on the gun the last day that I was at tryouts, and she was throwing 65 miles an hour. And she's after this year, she's going to Cleveland State to pitch. My catcher is about as good as they come in Western New York, Maggie Kellner. She's going to Niagara. I'd imagine she'll walk on campus and find herself a starting spot right away. If she's not catching for me, she could play shortstop, third base, outfield for us, and she hits the ball a mile. Hannah Kwasniewski, who typically plays middle infield for me, she's also going to Niagara. And then I round out my seniors that are going to college. Jesse Sheffield is going to Gannon to play, and Ava Miller is going to play at the U-Ville. So, this year's senior class has 3 Division I, 2 Division II, all expecting to go make a difference at their new colleges as freshmen. So it's just, I'm spoiled, and I've been spoiled with this group of kids. And, whether we get a season or not, it's going to be a very expensive senior gift year for me. They've been with me since they were 8, 9, 10 years old. And, they're the reason that I'm still at St. Mary's. I figured I would leave when Erin left, and, she's a junior, and there's no signs of me leaving. She'd like to be the next head coach at St. Mary's, so I think we're going to have a couple of years together. And then she'll kick me to the curb, make me bring a chair instead of a bucket.
Kevin, any other players we should be looking out for? You've got, like you said, you got a good base there. Who are some of the other players to look out for?
I have a couple of really talented juniors. Ellie Biardi came up from JV this year. Katie Fahey's been with us since she was a freshman. Most people don't know her as Katie Fahey. Most people know her as Juice. The softball people know her as Juice. I have a couple of really talented young kids that made it last year as freshmen. Anna Dovey will do the pitching when Tori isn't, and she's very, very talented. She plays on a team out of Florida. I have a couple of intensity kids that are coming up from JV this year, Lily Lauk and Chloe Sell. We're really talented, and there's 14 kids that made the team this year, and I could pretty much insert 3 or 4 of them into any spot. But because of the shortened prep time, it'll be where'd you play last year, and the new kids will have to slowly earn time where these other kids had 3-4 years to do so.
All right, well, let's go on now to Will North. So, Michelle, you've already talked about it. You've got a young team. We're going to learn about this young team and who's going to make up this young team. But I know within that AA division, there is no way anybody wants to see Will North on their schedule because they know it's going to be a game no matter what the year is. So let's talk about these new players we're going to be hearing about in the makeup of Will North.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. It starts with our leadership, right? So Maddie Farber is a senior this year. She's our center fielder. And, center fielder, she's fast. She's a threat on the bases. She's a threat at the plate. And she really commands the outfield and does a great job with that. So really excited to have her back this year. In the circle, we have Sarah Parjic. She is our pitcher, and she has been for 3 years, 3-year starter. And she was a division all-star last year. And so, she's only getting stronger and better. And so I'm super excited to see what she brings this year. Also, Danny Stephanie. Danny was a division all-star last year as well. And she plays for the New Jersey Intensity Travel teams. And so she's looking to play in college, and she's a tremendous infielder. Last year, she played first base for us, but this year we may have her be playing a different infield position, again, to be determined. But she was our highest batting average last year and just did a phenomenal job as a sophomore. And she's showing a lot of great leadership even now. We also have another senior, Maddie Nadrich. This is actually her first time making the team as a varsity player, and she worked so hard to do that. We are so proud of her. And she is such a leader on any aspect of the game, right? So whether she's playing, whether she's on the bench, she is out there and she's everybody's biggest cheerleader. And I really think that's super important for any team, right? Maria Zwink, she is a junior this year. She's going to be helping us out. We've got behind the plate, Allie Bessel and Maddie Flynn. There are 2 catchers that I work with, and they just do a phenomenal job. They're awesome, and I'm really excited to see them. And I don't know, they're probably going to be sharing time because they're both phenomenal and they're great leaders, and they work really well together. Also, pitcher, we have Madison Roberto and Hallie Lorimer. Madison is a junior, and she is small but mighty. She uses every ounce of her power, locates the ball, does a great job with the spin. Hallie Lorimer is a sophomore, and she earned her way onto the team, doing a great job in tryouts. We have Piper Murray. Piper is a returner for us, and she is a junior. She's probably going to play in the middle infield. We're thinking somewhere around second base. Maddie Flynn, she'll also Lauren Flynn. I already said Maddie Flynn. Lauren Flynn will probably be playing somewhere in the middle infield as well, maybe shortstop, maybe third base. I'm really excited about her. She's a junior this year, and she's been showing tremendous power, doing awesome offensively. So I know that she's going to be a great asset to us. Gabby Jewell, she's a junior for us, and she made the team. Abby Weisenberg, she's a sophomore and tremendous player, great hitter, lots of power. Coach Bubar had amazing things to say about her and what she was able to do for him at the JV team last year. So we're excited about that. And then Ella Joel. Ella Joel is a freshman for us, and she made the team and looks great too. So, we've got so many possibilities here as I'm looking, and I'm really excited about it. I'm not sure if I mentioned too, Abby Chalmers. I don't know if I mentioned her name or not, but she's been really doing a great job, and she made the team. She's a junior, and possibilities are endless, really. But yeah, like you say, our league is just like anybody's ball game. I think last year, each team had a handful of losses in the league. It's just you never know. It's a toss-up. It's a close game. They're nail biters, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's always a fun division to watch. Monsignor Martin being another one. But now let's go off to Will East. Chris, we know you've got a team that will not only compete for a sectional crown, but you've got a team that's capable of going after a state title. And that was the hopes and actually what everybody's aspirations are for this season. So we know you've got a powerhouse of a team that we're going to go ahead and talk about. Let's talk about that team and the makeup of Will East.
Well, Tom, obviously our team starts with our pitching. Summer, Class A co-player of the year last year, going to be, committed 2 years ago to go to Missouri. And I know Michelle's familiar with that that situation, but it starts with summer, and we've also got some very young players. Ella Wesolowski is our catcher, and she's a freshman, and this is her third year playing for us. And she's just a dominant catcher. The ball very rarely gets by her. She has an amazing arm, and obviously last year she batted, cleanup for us as an 8th grader. Summer's not only is Summer a pitcher, but she hits the ball very hard and does just about everything we need her to do from that position. Abby Stelrecht is another player who's a junior this year. This is her 4th year playing for us. She started with us as an 8th grader as well. She has kind of rotated between catcher and second base. She might be our shortstop this year. She's been politicking for that for about the last 3 months to be the shortstop, replacing Christy Mack, who played in that position for 6 years. So, we've got a good group of core kids back that have a lot of experience. Chelsea McNamara and Kayla Twilliger are 2 seniors that played outfield for us last year. We're looking for, obviously a lot of leadership from them. We have Mia Wendell, who's our 3rd senior, who came back, did not play last year as a junior, chose to play hockey. I believe she's going to Columbia maybe for hockey, but she chose to come back and play softball in her senior year. We've got a couple other juniors who kind of platoon for us in different positions. Brianna Willick and Julia Warzowski played pretty big roles last year. Alexa Pieri is our pitcher from JV, who's going to be obviously our backup pitcher to Summer. We've got a couple other juniors, Caitlin Snyder, Carly Aquilina, Elizabeth Stevens, Carly Ryder. Those players are going to be playing positions because, as I said, we didn't lose a ton of seniors, but we lost some seniors in key positions at shortstop and third. So we're going to be moving people around a lot. And then we've got 2 sophomores, Melissa Smith and Val Warzowski up from JV, who we're looking for big things from. So, we were certainly excited about the season. Coming off a state title and going undefeated puts a lot of pressure on you for this year. But when you have the pitching and the catching, when you start there, you have a real good shot to win every game.
Fantastic, no doubt about it. And we've heard a lot, like I said, 3 fabulous teams that we were going to see hit the fields and do some damage out there in Western New York. So my last question I have for you guys is, who's that 1 or 2 players that's not on our radars right now in Western New York? Like, who has to be? You got to know this player right here. She's going to be someone to watch out for. She's going to be making an impact here in Western New York. Who is that? Michelle, let's start with yourself.
So, I've got a few names. Let's just put it that way. So, sectional final last year, walk-off home run against us. It's still imprinted in my brain because, of course, it was against us. Megan Geis, Orchard Park. She's going to Canisius. Phenomenal, not only pitcher, but also hitter. Also on Orchard Park, Lauren Castillo. She's going to the University of Rochester, catcher. So, like, the battery rate there is perfect. And then there's Jaden Swiatek. She's going to go to Niagara. She plays outfield for them. So, again, powerhouse team right there. If I had to talk about Clarence, Jay Bolton, phenomenal pitcher. And then also Leah Victor, phenomenal pitcher. Both of them, to have 2 girls that are Division I caliber on the same team, Chris knows, that's pretty special and that's pretty rare. And both of them are on there. Jay is going to UMass. She verbaled there. And then, so I guess it's not official, but verbaled there. And then Leah is going to Wagner, which is a Division I school. Lancaster, there's Sam Weber, Madison Bulk. Frontier has Cam Adme. West Hanukkah West has Maddie Chidkowski and Sam Fleming. So just a couple of people from each of the teams that are outstanding players in Division I to look out for sure.
Fantastic. Chris, how about yourself?
Well, how do I compete with that, Tom?
I was going to say,
really,
yeah.
how I compete with that at all? Totally unprepared for that. I know Hamburg, last year had a phenomenal season. Obviously, we played North and Orchard Park last year, and obviously saw Orchard Park play a couple of times. So I would defer to Michelle on those names. But I know, Hamburg's got a couple of real good kids coming back. Their names escape me at this point because I just haven't been in softball mode too much. But
what about your team, Chris? Like, give me people on your team that are not on our radar right now. Who do I need to know about that they're the up and coming? This is a player to watch out for that we haven't heard about yet.
Oh, that's tough. I'm putting a lot of pressure on that kid, Tom. But we've got some young players that I'm really looking forward to seeing them participate at this level. And that's something that they have to kind of earn their spot, and then they have to be able to prove that they can play with those other kids that have a lot of experience. So I hesitate to give you any names because I wouldn't want to put any pressure on those kids. But I think it's important for them to make their way and get themselves in there.
Okay. Kevin, how about yourself?
As far as not on the radar, I guess I'll go with my two young ones that made it last year. I already spoke about Anna. She's our other pitcher. She's a sophomore. And Isabella Farina. I'm not going to worry about putting extra pressure on them because I think the one kid will eat it up and probably look right through me. She's probably watching this thing right now. And the other one, Bella Farina, the kid can fly, the kid can hit, and she does it all with this huge smile on her face. I'm expecting a really big year in that transition from freshman to sophomore out of her.
That's fantastic. Well, before we go, I was asked to give some quick updates too for softball, that they wanted to let everyone know that the induction enshrinement ceremony for the class of 2020 in the New York State High School Softball Hall of Fame, that both late Jerry Gentner from Will South and Caitlin Atlefield, and I apologize if I didn't say that right, Atlefield, from Niagara Wheatfield were scheduled to be enshrined, has been officially canceled, and their inductions will now be part of this ceremony to induct the class of 2021, which will be announced later this summer. Also, the big tournament, the annual 2020 James Ace Morabito Memorial Invitational Softball, to which Eden, Iroquois, Clarence, Will South were all scheduled to participate, has been officially canceled at this point. So just to give some quick updates so people knew a little bit more about softball there, just to kind of finish off on just some updates. Not that we want to leave on a bad note there, but just to keep people informed as to what's going on. But at this point, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the Western New York Athletics Coaches Corner. This is fantastic. What great way to talk about softball, get some of the players out there, and really keep it alive, and keep our fingers crossed that we're all going to be going to the field here shortly.
Thanks, Tom, and we appreciate what you're doing, keeping this going here. I think it means a lot for people.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Keep
Thanks,
doing what
guys.
you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.